Tra la 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 wee! Oh, hi there, and welcome to part 11 of Chrono Trigger. Today we are heading east of the Aris Dome to a place called the Abandoned Sewers. Now, I mentioned this at the end of the last part. I'll repeat it just in case you missed it. The Abandoned Sewers are a completely optional place to go at this point in the game. You don't have to go here, but at some point throughout the game, you're going to have to go here. So, because you have to go here eventually, you might as well go here now. It gives you a little bit of it gives you like 2 or 3 items, and it gives you some experience. So I think it's worth taking a trip here, but that's me. It's up to you. You can do what you want. Anyways, upon entering, you're going to be spotted by a lookout who's going to report to the boss. That spells trouble. Anyways, the sewers honestly don't have much to them, but it's a surprisingly frustrating part of the game. There are only 2 new enemies here, a stray rat and a random mini-boss. So I hope you like the 2 enemies you see here, Agoos and the fish things, Dondragos, the sea fish things. I don't know what to call them. They're really annoying. That's all that really needs to be said. You can pick up 600 gold here, and then we could head over to the west and go exploring. Now, these sea fish things are the primary thing you're going to see here. Why are they irritating? Well, the game developers conveniently programmed the majority of them to appear in bulk and always appear just conveniently a few pixels too wide for Cyclone to hit multiple enemies. So you can't really use Cyclone on a lot of these clusters of these dragon things, so you have to fight them individually. They have a lot of hit points, and they have 2 irritating techs. They have lightning and water, which are eventually techs that you'll end up learning on some of your own characters. So they hit pretty hard, and they take a while to kill. They're just really irritating. There's also some interesting cutscenes with some frogs. Ribbit? There's really no point to these frogs other than they point out that there's supposed to be a bridge here. I guess it was put in for comic relief. I feel like putting those frogs in was like, I don't know, the game developers were like, hey John, you're the new guy, why don't you do something simple like program some random frogs that speak? And they're like, okay, that's a great idea, let's put in some random frogs. So I feel like it was some newbie's basically beginner task for coding or something. Anyways, yeah, this place is a tad spooky. There is an underground place, oh goody, and if you head to the west, you're going to find a random note. Now, I actually found this out recently. If you did not save Fritz from the guillotine back at the prison towers, this note won't be here. I guess whoever wrote this note is a descendant of Fritz, because this guy, basically he talks about the fishmen and they attack at the slightest noise. And what gives it away that it was Fritz's relative is he'd take the guillotine any day of the week. So I just thought that was interesting. There's surprisingly things I still learn about this game, and that's one of the things I've learned pretty recently. Oh look, a cute little kitty! Oh. Whoops. Yep, more fishmen. That stupid cat was a trap! It was a trap, I tell you! Oh god, I'm using a horrible internet meme. Anyways, yeah, fishmen here are just super annoying. Sometimes they'll appear clustered together, but this is one of those instances where you can use Cyclone. My best recommendation is try to knock out one at a time, and then that way you can take them one at a time so they're not attacking you. That's kind of just general Chrono Trigger knowledge in general. You should focus a target, kill it, because if it's dead, it can't attack you, right? So that's definitely the way to go here with these things. I probably should have used Cyclone twice, but don't feel too hesitant to use magic here. You shouldn't run out. Now, surprisingly, these sewers are pretty tough. I mentioned in the last part, I accidentally went here before even doing the RS Dome stuff the first time I played this game. I barely made it out of this place alive. It's definitely not easy. This is definitely the hardest part of the early game for probably a beginner to get through. Though it doesn't really serve that much significance at this point in the game, it's definitely a challenge to a beginner. If you kick the can into the thing, I don't even know what that's supposed to be. It's gonna trigger a bunch of more of these dumb enemies. Thankfully, this is probably your best experience with multiple fishmen. You can attack 3 of them at once with Cyclone. So have Marla and Luca focus the one at the bottom and have Chrono Cyclone the upper 3. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Please don't KO. Okay, good. And that's the most efficient method of taking out this group of enemies. Generally speaking, by the time you leave this place, you're never going to want to eat fish again. In fact, you're going to hate fish. Everything about fish and dragons and... I don't even know, man. I just hate this place. It's such a miserable experience. I do like how people at the RS Dome are like, you shouldn't try going here. Late game, when you have to come here, it's quite amusing because this place is ridiculously easy if you come here late game. But at this point in the game, it's just miserable. Anyways, over here is a random cheese. I don't get it, but it attracts a rat, and the rat attracts more fishmen. Goody. You fought rats before, so that's nothing new. Unfortunately, the fishmen or fish. Don't forget, if you need to heal, don't hesitate to use Aura. In fact, you're probably going to have to use Aura at some point. You could also use Aura Whirl. It's technically more magic point efficient. However, Chrono's going to be probably using the majority of the magic in this place, so for that reason, Chrono's magic is kind of what you want to be careful to not overdo. Anyways, that wraps up this floor, right? We're done here. You can take a save point. Ha ha! You thought that was a save point. Just kidding! No, more fishmen. Yep. More fishmen. That save point, it was a trap. This place is so miserable. Okay, the cat was kinda cute. I could understand falling for the cat. Then you had the can that you kicked and the cheese, and it was like, yeah, this is obviously a trap. Then you get to the save point, and it's like, oh, okay, surely this thing is real. There's no way there's a fake save point. That's what I love about Chrono Trigger. You'll find that Chrono Trigger does a lot of unique things that aren't common in video games, and trolling with save points is one of them. You have to keep in mind, Chrono Trigger is an old game. It was made for the SNES, so it brought a lot of new and interesting ideas for its time upon being created. Anyways, that takes care of the basement. You can head up the steps. We're pretty much mostly done here. There's a few more enemies left to fight. You can fight some egg oozes. The egg oozes honestly aren't that exciting. Like I said, they're pretty generic. I'm pretty sure they're weak to electric magic. I might be wrong. That information will be in the sidebar. So I think they're super effective because I just one-shotted them with Wind Slash. So Wind Slash is definitely something to be recommended there. If you line it up correctly, you can kill them both at once. Otherwise, they're pretty bulky and they surprisingly hit pretty hard. If you find a crack in the walls over here, you want to find this switch. You gotta hit it. If not, you can't get through this place. And then that will lead you out over here, and you're gonna get another ribbit. Ribbit, ribbit. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. Ribbit. Feel like we're playing Pokemon here. Pika, Pikachu. Charmander, Char. Ribbits! Ribbits! Anyways, they're going to tell you you have to hit a switch to basically pop the bridges out. So keep that in mind, very important. You'll use that in a moment. Anyways, head up here, and you can grab a Rage Band. And believe it or not, this item is incredibly good. On good physical attackers, that is. Chrono is a great person to use this item for. Basically what this item does, it grants a 50% counter attack rate. So if you get attacked, there's a 50% chance you'll counter attack. So on strong physical attackers such as Chrono, you can rack up a lot of extra damage. A counter attack does as much as your basic auto attack. So if your auto attack hits 50 hit points of damage, your counter is going to hit for 50 as well. Anyways, make sure you, well, you don't have to worry too much about healing up. You'll understand why in a second. This is Krawling. What a name. Yeah, I am actually waltzing through the sewers like I own the place. Anyways, Krawling is actually registered as a boss fight in the game's Beastinary. So this is technically a boss fight, but not really. It actually plays the standard battle music. So I consider Krawling to be like a mini-boss, sort of. Anyways, Krawling is incredibly irritating in the fight. Why? Because he'll mash you to goo. And if you pay attention to the bottom screen, you will notice that his attack dropped Luca to 1 hit point. So he has 2 attacks. One that drops you to 1 hit point, and one that basically finishes you off. It doesn't do it that much damage. So basically, as you saw, 50 hit points. So don't drop below 50 hit points and you're good. Basically, how you fight him, you attack with Chrono, you attack with Luca, and you have Marla on standby to heal up whoever he attacks. And that's how you beat him. He's ridiculously easy to fight. Like I said, he's kind of a mini-boss, but he's a boss, but he's not really a boss, and he's not hard at all. If you're new to Chrono Trigger and you don't understand how he works, I can understand you kind of freaking out. Because the first time I played this, I definitely freaked out. I'm like, oh my god, I just got dropped to 1 hit point. What do I do? But it's really no reason to panic. You'll actually find that late game, there's a lot of types of magic that enemies will use that drop you to 1 hit point. If an enemy uses an attack like that, don't panic. Stay calm. It's okay. You'll live. Oh yeah, more enemies. The fishmen never end. It's like an endless torture chamber. It doesn't end. I honestly think the guy who mentioned the guillotine was right. It probably would be best. Try to wait a second to use Wind Slash to knock out the egg oozes. It's definitely to be recommended. It'll help you out in the long run. And then we could fight some more of the Drago things. Now the weird fish creatures are actually weak to electric type magic. Unfortunately, Wind Slash isn't a 1-hit KO, but combined with an auto attack of like Luca or Marla, you should be able to get a kill. Like I said, be careful, don't over spam Chrono's magic. You should be fine. Anyways, that wraps up for pretty much, I believe that's the last set of enemies we fight in this place. So you can head over here, and ultimately what you want to do is hit this switch. This pops out the bridges, and that means you can basically come and go through this place freely without having to worry about enemies. You can also pick up a free Thunder Blade. It'll buff your attack 3, basically 3 points compared to the silver sword, so definitely worth your time. Good item to pick up. And then we could leave. So, what's on the other side? Well, unfortunately not much. There's 2 things we could do. One, we could go to the Keeper's Dome, and honestly there's not much to do here. It has a kind of an interesting song. This song is actually in a weird way kind of sad. Especially since I know some of the events that happen later in the game. There's a weird thing. You'll later find out in the game that these are called Nus, N-U. You'll see them throughout the game, and they're the only thing that you'll see in every single time period. Strange little creatures. And then there's an old man here. He'll mumble something about a person called Shala. He'll talk about Death Peak. And he'll mention some masterpieces. The Ocean Palace and the Blackbird. He's very odd. He doesn't make a lot of sense, and if you come here and you've never played the game, you'll probably think the man's crazy. But if you have played through the game, it's surprising how much what he says makes sense. What may seem like random babbling is pretty interesting. And then we could also come check out Death Peak real quick. There's nothing you can do here. But you can pick up a free strength capsule before you get blown off the mountain. You can't progress through Death Peak. Basically, it's a wasted effort. Later on in the game, there's something related to this place, but for now, it's kind of pointless. Anyways, we can head back through the sewers. So, I guess the last thing to say about the abandoned sewers is you can make your way through this way. You don't have to fight any more enemies here, and it's basically a quick shortcut out. So that wraps up the abandoned sewers. Next time we could head off to Site 33. That wraps up this video. Thank you, and good night.